Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Zak is Cinema. Yes, welcome home, because if you find yourself just so desperate to talk to somebody about a movie you just experienced, but you just take a look around you and realize you have nobody that will listen to you, well, me too. We have found each other, so now let's talk about some movies here, yes. Today we're going to be doing another movie review, so let's just hop right into it. Today we're going to be reviewing and discussing the new movie Superman 2025. For writer and director, we have James Gunn. Superman is also starring David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnan, and Nicholas Hoult. So as we hop into the review for the new Superman movie here on the channel, we've been covering some of the more recent DCEU movies with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, kind of leading up to this movie, just, taking a look back and reminiscing together. So if you're interested, definitely check out those videos. And I would say with this new Superman movie, I was definitely so excited to just see what the DCU would really look like moving forward with James Gunn. I would say this wasn't my most anticipated movie, but one of my most curious and just interested to see what this movie would be. Like I've mentioned, I really enjoy the idea of just, Warner Brothers recognizing their mistakes, just saying, okay, fuck it, let's do a full restart and reboot. Let's try to do it right from the very beginning here. So I like that they kind of acknowledged that and just went full reboot. Props to Warner Brothers here, despite all the stupid and despicable shit they did. They just, let's restart it here. So yeah, I was really excited leading up to this movie. It had a lot of hype, anticipation. Then you also got the weird Zack Snyder culty members trying to sabotage this movie. So it almost felt like an event film, but an event film that also had all this online discourse and baggage attached to it. So it's just it's very interesting leading up to this movie, but at the end of the day, I was just kind of curious to see what I'd think of this movie. For this review here, I won't be delving into any specific spoilers. I might just kind of try to skate around lightly, kind of toe tap around some plot details or how I feel about certain things. Nothing specific, but if you absolutely just don't want to know anything, definitely don't watch the review. Don't watch any reviews. Just watch it and then kind of watch them. That's what I do. So I guess I'm saying everyone should be like me. So, do what you want. But yes, let's jump into the review section, starting with the positives or just the things that I really enjoyed about this movie. So to me, one of my favorite things about this movie is just how unique, different, and kind of special it really felt. I'm not going to sit here and just tell you some bullshit like it's something you've never seen before. However, to me, I think this movie came out at a perfect time when the superhero subgenre of movies, especially with Marvel, like I've said before, just feels so overly saturated, repetitive, and kind of boring that I feel like this movie, with the vibe and tone that it brings and the unique feeling, at least to me, it was just so refreshing to really sit there and experience this movie. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you it's nothing you haven't seen before, but I will say I feel like it's nothing you've really seen before, at least recently, at least in the past couple years, to where it's just a nice new fresh spark within superhero movies, where this movie tonally, energy wise, vibe wise, just felt kind of special to me. And to me, I think the best thing, obviously, just with the trailers as well, is very apparent, but I really appreciated just how different this really does feel compared to our older DCEU movies. And it's kind of cool that we get to enjoy both of these universes now. At least I do, especially because just how different they're really going for. It really feels like a vastly different universe in the best way possible. And to me, it feels very similar to James Gunn's work, but also slightly different different at the same time. And I think because with this movie, James Gunn is really focusing and tackling just Superman instead of his standard ragtag group of anti-superhero groups of people. So it does feel a little bit unique within James Gunn's work, but if you like his work, I think you're going to really enjoy this as well. Speaking of the tone and vibe, I really enjoyed just the overall energy this movie brought. I loved how it looked as well, and I think that adds a lot to the energy and tone. I like how they turned up and ramped up the contrast and saturation, where it really feels like you're just reading one of those old school classic Superman comics where all the colors and everything is just so bright. It really felt like those pages kind of coming to life on the screen, but they don't try to do like, they're not doing like that 2003 Hulk shit where they actually have comic book pages in there. It felt like a new kind of different way to really showcase what it's like for a kid reading a comic book for the first time. And honestly, I think that's maybe what might be most divisive, I think, just the tone and energy. We'll get into it here. I don't think it goes for that standard, just quippy, nothing serious kind of superhero movie at all, but I think the tone is just very, especially compared to the DCEU, very, very different here. So I could see all these things that I'm listing off as positives being a negative for somebody. I could see that as well. And jumping into David Corenswet here, I hope I'm saying his name right, but in his role as Superman, I think he's a great actor. I love the little bit we got of him in the movie Pearl. I love that trilogy as well here, but I think he brings this lighthearted, hopeful portrayal of Superman, but also doesn't shy away from showing Superman's human side with his faults. And in this movie, I think his reactions and responses to things are very emotional. He's not afraid he's not sitting there sobbing or anything, but he's very emotional to situations, and he's not going to be afraid to say and show when he's frustrated with something. So I think he's a great actor, and I think he does fantastic as Superman. And again, not really saying that I like him more than Henry Cavill. I really do like both of them here. I definitely need to see more of this portrayal of Superman to really say one or the other. But again, I just appreciate that you get two vastly different portrayals of Superman, both done really, really well here by both of those actors. And one of the greatest things in this movie to me was Superman or Clark Kent's relationship and chemistry with Lois in the movie. And I think James Gunn here has a much better story and development between those two characters compared to Man of Steel. And I like that Lois, right off the bat, we're getting a more established Superman where the world already knows about him. He's got his job at the Daily Planet here. I like that Lois already knows and has this relationship with Clark Kent, but knows he's Superman at the same time. And I like how throughout the movie, they're not just like, oh, lovey-dovey, 100%, everything's awesome, we're so loving towards each other and so in love. They actually have conflict and disagreements. They see things differently, but have those types of arguments and disagreements that you could see happening if you're trying to date a superhero. I mean, that'd be a pretty complex relationship, and I like that they don't shy away from it, and I think do a much better job than in Man of Steel or BVS, just for most recent examples of really fleshing that out and using it to the story's advantage here. And again, like I've said with Man of Steel and why I wish they did more with that relationship, I think what they do here in the relationship really helps to flesh out that more human side of Clark Kent and Superman, because I think that's one of the most interesting aspects of a superhero like Superman, about how he's this godlike creature but raised on Earth, so he's kind of just like us but has these abilities, and I think Lois is an important tie to that character point as well. And just like with any James Gunn movies here. I really love his use of CGI and special effects here. I think they look absolutely incredible. There was nothing that really stood out to me. I mean, obviously it's CGI, but he blends it so well, and it looks great, just like the most recent The Suicide Squad, I thought did a fantastic of, blending the world with these fantastical, outlandish characters that it all seemed believable, at least to me. And the action here, I really did enjoy it. I think James Gunn did a good job at blending what I loved about Zack Snyder's more visceral action. I described it as superheroes fighting in a bar, like that street fight amongst gods. And I think James Gunn in this movie blends that, but also puts in a more fantastical edge, similar to what he brought with Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad, where it almost kind of like ramps it up even more. And again, it's awesome that we get two very different styles here, and I could see people appreciating one or the other, or at least with me, I really, really do enjoy both. And speaking of that, I think another talent of James Gunn that he showcases here is that fantastical side, where I think he does such a great job at having these such outlandish scenarios, characters, villains, stuff going on in these different settings and these settings on Earth, but also other places, to where it feels so fresh and unique, but also somehow makes it so grounded within its universe. Again, similar to Guardians, the Suicide Squad. He does such a good job at that, and I think this movie balances it very well. And I think it's one of his most outlandish, just really goes for it, but nothing felt like, that's a little too much. Like, he made a flying Superman dog somewhat believable to me. Like, I think that's pretty impressive. And to me, I really did like Nicholas Holt's portrayal in the character of Lex Luthor. I think he does a great job with this character. I think I'd like it even more because I just finished watching Batman v Superman, and that awful portrayal of Lex Luthor, that this one is just significantly better. I think this is how you portray such a outlandish, borderline almost over the top villain, but at the same time making him ruthless, intimidating, one of those villains that you love watching on screen, but it never takes away from the fact that you want to see Superman kick the shit out of him and you want to see him lose in the end here. And again, I'm not a big comic reader, like I've mentioned a couple times before, but I really like the story and portrayal of Lex Luthor in here, where you get some of that more classic side of Lex Luthor, like that scummy, slimy realtor businessman, but he can also find ways to match Superman's strength and find ways to match up to him physically using technology and stuff around him. And I like on top of that how he's still messing and planning with stuff in the background, turning people and the citizens and the government against Superman. This is the type of Lex Luthor that would have made much more sense, or at least like what he was doing in a movie like BVS, and could have really, really elevated that. But I like how methodical he is here, and it almost just kind of reminds me of like I said, like that business corporate realtor mixed with the chaos side of the Joker here. And similar to what I really do appreciate with Man of Steel and BVS is how this movie really delves into and shows the world and government side and the general response to the question, what if Superman was real and made his presence known? And I love that side of the story, and I love how in this movie, in the case with Lex Luthor, it shows you how people would react, but also how a villain would react, a villain that is so desperate for power that can't stand someone being more powerful than him, what he would do to try to turn people against him and not just like defeat him or destroy the entire world. Like, he's kind of trying to weave in different methodical plans at the same time. I really did appreciate how Superman goes through some personal and emotional conflicts with his home planet of Krypton and his family, parents, family members on that planet, and how he finds out certain things and details about his origin and what he was sent here for. And I like how that plays into the plot. I like how it puts him on this character arc and a big conflict he kind of has to resolve, adds more to the character and adds more to the story. And I think that kind of unique thing, again, no spoilers, that they do here, I really enjoyed it. But yeah, let's jump into my mix section for the new Superman movie. For me, not all the humor really worked here. However, I did at least appreciate that it's more of that conversational, dialogue-driven humor where it doesn't do that like standard setup, quip and pause kind of thing for the laugh. It's more part of the conversation, a lot of quick pace back and forth dialogue where if a joke didn't work or land for me, it just kind of moves right along. So unfortunately, I don't know if I'm just like don't find a lot of things funny or something, but a lot of this humor just unfortunately didn't work for me, but it didn't stand out to me as a big negative, if that makes sense. And like I said, I did like Nicholas Hoult here. I liked his portrayal of Lex Luthor, and I definitely want to see the movie again just to see how I really do feel about it. Like, I could see some things changing here with my opinion. However, there's a reveal in the third act. I'm trying to skate around here. There's a different kind of threat to Superman, and I thought it was really cool and interesting, leads to some great action, but it almost just kind of left me with the thought like, damn, wow, Lex Luthor can really do like almost everything here. So I felt like it kind of got to the point where I'm like, all right, Jesus, like what can't Lex Luthor really do? Like I feel like he shouldn't be struggling that much here with how much he has and his abilities. So I wish they kind of maybe did that a different way, toned it down maybe a little bit. Again, it's in my mix because overall I felt like I liked it, but thinking about it more just kind of got me a little bit more mixed feeling around it, if that makes sense. And in my mix, I do like the music and song choices in here and that new variation of this classic Superman theme. I think that is really awesome. However, to me, the score is definitely not as good as Hans Zimmer, which it's hard to beat Hans Zimmer here, but even the music choices, maybe some people will really like them. To me, I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity. I was expecting something really unique and interesting given the Guardians of the Galaxy history with James Gunn, but it's not really here, but the music we do get is serviceable. And lastly, in my mix, I'm not sure how I feel about Crypto, okay? And I swear I don't hate dogs. Here's a picture of me with a dog, okay? Let's establish that right now. ZakIsCinema loves dogs. However, to me, I kind of found him a little bit annoying at times to the point where he never really listens to Superman, but then when the plot or situation needs him to listen to Superman, he listens to Superman and is like this all-star sidekick for Superman. So again, absolutely nothing that derails the movie for me or ruins anything. It felt like more of a character here to sell toys, if I'm being honest. But yeah, let's jump into my negatives or the things that I just didn't really like about this movie. And I will say right off the bat, overall, I really did like this movie. And I do plan on seeing it again just to see if it goes up or down. I want to see it again because I had a really good time. It engrossed me. One of those movies where I let it consume me and I had a blast with it. So none of these negatives really ruined the movie for me. We'll see on a couple more rewatches here. But to me, I wish we kind of got a little bit more of Superman's human side to his character, where I think they do a great job with Lois. I think they could have done a way better job with Pa and Ma Kent. I love the things that we got with them, and some of my favorite parts of Man of Steel is that human side, that flashback stuff, really fleshing out Superman's human side to him. I think is so important, and I think that's what makes him so interesting. Again, that he's this god, but he's so flawed and so human, and it brings up all this complex emotions. And I don't think the movie does a bad job at doing some of those things. Just I think it was a real big missed opportunity of not including some more of that on Earth family stuff, if that makes sense. And again, this is so difficult. I never realized how not talking about spoilers is so difficult, but I will say there's one part, like one last thing they have to do in the third act to kind of wrap up and fully conclude everything that just felt way too fast, rushed, came off as slightly convenient. It felt like it almost like that one last final thing they got to wrap up, just like it wrapped up everything way too neatly given the size and scope and destruction. The ending of the movie is not bad. It's just, it kind of unfortunately falls in that it's a little predictable and it wraps up a little bit too neatly. Like Man of Steel, I think, has a fantastic ending where, it wraps up basically how you thought it would, but there's a defining character moment and choice for Superman, and you don't really necessarily get that in this movie. And already, like I mentioned in my mixed with the overall humor, I think a lot of it lands, a lot of it doesn't. But one of them that definitely didn't land at all for me is Lex Luthor's girlfriend character in the movie. She's just very over the top. She's that selfie girl in the trailer that people were roasting. And that's like her whole kind of thing, like the dumb blonde, very over the top character. Like she felt a little bit more over the top than some of the superheroes and metahumans around her. So what they do with her and how she kind of ties into the story at a certain point just felt a little convenient again, and just I didn't like the character and found her kind of annoying to me here. But I would say overall here, this was a hard movie to talk about. Maybe I'll do a spoiler vid. We'll see how I feel after my second watch here. But to me, it's one of those comic book movies that really just engrossed me. I felt captivated by it, and it made me feel like a kid again, almost just sitting down. And the first time I saw like the old 90s Spider-Man cartoon and just seeing these fantastical characters really come to life here, like I got such a similar feeling. And I think it's a great comic book movie that still feels fresh enough to really stand out. And I think it's really putting the DCU on the right path here. And I'm very excited to see what comes next. For my rating for this movie, at this time, I guess I'll keep you guys updated if I change my opinion after my second watch, or maybe want to make a video if I have more things to say. I'll definitely do that. But as of right now, I plan on buying this movie on 4K when it comes out. I'll pay full price for it. I want to add it to my collection, not only because I'm going to want to rewatch it, but I think it's going to look so amazing on 4K that I definitely have to own it here. But you guys have my thoughts here on Superman 2025. Very, very curious. I haven't looked at anything yet. These are my thoughts here, so definitely let me know what you guys thought of Superman 2025. Give me that kind of context. Were you sad about the reboot, happy, nervous, excited about the reboot? Let me know all of that down below, and definitely let me know what you thought about this movie and your thoughts and feelings of the DCU moving forward here. But thanks again. I appreciate anybody watching my videos, so thank you so much. And yeah, look forward to more ZakIsCinema coming very soon.